Our next speaker has been both entertaining and educating audiences since he was in grade school. From his first onstage trumpet solo in the 6th grade to a Sunday morning sermon in church at age 14, Al has always had a desire and willingness to both entertain and be of service to others. He has served the Occupational Safety and Health Administration as the chairman of the American National Standards Institute on First Aid in the Workplace. He's taught sales, marketing, consulting, and business management skills throughout the U.S. and currently coaches speakers on how to make their presentation unforgettable with magic. While he promises no pyrotechnics this evening, there is sure to be some magic in his message. Here to share his success story from his days in the corporate world with his program entitled, Be Like David. Please help me welcome a legend in his own mind.
I'll never forget the first day that I met David. It was July 7th, 1997. It was a beautiful day in Southern California. I had just moved to the Los Angeles area from South Carolina. It was my first day in a new job as the Director of Sales, Marketing, and Development for the largest industrial first aid manufacturing company in the United States. I met David that day, but he was not happy to see me. You see, David started working at this particular first aid company about 10 years prior, virtually the same month that I started in the first aid industry back in Des Moines, Iowa. Yet on this day, I was being introduced as David's new boss. Needless to say, he was not terribly happy to meet me. Why was I being introduced as the new boss and not David? For we had both been in the industry for about 10 years. Well, let me answer that question with a question. Have you ever known someone who has worked in a business for 10 years, yet did not have 10 years worth of experience? What I'm trying to say is David had 1 year of experience 10 times over. David had a great heart, a great will, but he had not been managed well, and he wasn't exactly sure what to do. I didn't know what I was going to come up against with David. Maybe a little regret that he didn't get the promotion. That was certainly understandable. In any event, David did have a good attitude and gave me an opportunity to sit down with him and help him to become more successful. I helped David realize that there is a philosophy that the Japanese used in the automotive industry, in fact throughout their entire business model, a philosophy called Kaizen, which is the art of constant improvement. I sat down with David virtually the first week and helped David realize that the most important thing to do was to follow this path of constant improvement. The first step was to plan your actions. I asked David to sit down for just a couple of hours and give me a plan for what he intended to accomplish over the course of the next week. He said, Al, I'm going to need a lot more time. I'm going to need probably this entire week to develop my plan. I said, no, David, you only have 2 hours. At the end of the day today, I want your plan for next week. David went out the next day and executed step number 2 in the Kaizen philosophy, and that is take action. He didn't get to hide behind the shield of sitting around making plans forever. He had to plan quickly and then had to go out and implement those actions quickly. At the end of the first week, I invited David into the office and introduced him to the 3rd step in the process, which was evaluate your actions. Pat yourself on the back for the successes that you had. What worked well? Also, be honest enough to admit those things that didn't work so well. But David, you still have to go to step number 4, and that is to do the learning. We've planned, we've executed, we've evaluated. Now it's time to learn from both our successes as well as our mistakes. I gave David a particular book to read, a couple of chapters in this book, and he, with a willing heart, sat down and read those 2 chapters. We discussed it, talked about some methodologies that he could use to overcome some objections in the field. He was very open to this. So I said, David, let's review. The most important thing for you to do is follow these 4 steps, and then there's a secret 5th step that I'll give you in just a moment. The first one, plan what you intend to accomplish. Think about all the possible roadblocks that may come your way and all the skills that you know that you have, and maybe even look for some things that you might need to improve upon before you go out there on day 1. But then just get out there and act. Take action. Then step number 3, review what you did. Analyze it. Give yourself credit for the positive things that happened, and don't be afraid to admit your shortcomings. Then do the learning. Go wherever you need to learn. Maybe that is a mentor, maybe it's some books, audio, videotapes, wherever you need to go to learn to overcome your shortcomings. And then step number 5, which I will admit I stole from the back of a shampoo bottle, which says lather, rinse, and repeat. Absolutely. So step number 5 is go back to step number 1 and do the whole process all over again. Plan, act, evaluate, learn, and repeat. Now, 3 years after David and I had that first visit inside the office at that first aid manufacturing company, there was an opportunity for a brand new vice president of sales and marketing within that organization. Any ideas who got that position? Absolutely. David had developed the skills, the ability, and the attitude that it took for success. So David got the promotion. Now, if you would like to experience the same type of successes that David had, simply follow the 5-step process based on the Kaizen principle that made Japan's industrial economy very, very successful. Plan, act, evaluate, learn, and repeat. Please, be like David.